Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Victoria, and in my channel I want to tell you about mental illness, about my experience in a Russian mental hospital, how hard it was, and about depression and my healing from depression. Sorry for my English, I'm Russian, so my English is not as good as I wanted. So today I want to tell you my story, how I encountered mental illness. All it started when I was going through a very tough period of my life. A new job that required a lot of mental effort, money problems, and an unhealthy lifestyle that consisted of an eating disorder and bad sleep and some bad habits. But the most basic thing that triggered my illness was abusive relationship. During that period I was constantly fighting with my boyfriend, leaving him and moving back, and then it ended up with our final breakup. Not longer after I moved away, I felt like something bad with my head. It started panic attacks, I was less active, it was hard to concentrate, and I behaved strange. So I was losing weight quickly and decided to see a psychiatrist finally. My dad took me to inpatient clinic, and I ended up with a psychiatrist who specialized in spiritual psychotherapy. He connected psychiatry with religion, which wasn't suitable for me as a non-religious person. I started going to his lectures and started taking pills. He prescribed it to me, and but my illness only progressed. I was losing my memory. At that time I was working as an English tutor, and it was harder to work, and then finally I got up for all my students, unfortunately. Then the worst thing happened. One night I was feeling like crazy. It was so hard, pain in my head, and then I couldn't sleep, and I felt like I was dying. I was suffocating. My blood pressure started skyrocketing. My arms and legs were cramping like hell. My parents called an ambulance, but the time doctors arrived, my panic attack had stopped. They checked my heart, and they gave me tranquilizer called phenazepam. It's a Russian tranquilizer. And so they suspected that it was drugs, but it wasn't, and they said necessary to be examined to check what's the problem with my condition, with my head. After that night I continued to go to lectures with a psychiatrist, but my condition wasn't wasn't getting worse. I was losing weight. My weight was 45 kilos. I had terrible pains in my head, and my panic attacks and feeling like I was in a computer game were increasing. Sorry, it's my bird. And finally, another bad thing happened. I started to feel like I had a voice in my head that told me to die or to go crazy. I started begging my parents to take me for an MRI of my brain. I was pretty sure I was schizophrenic. Every night I slept worse and worse. I was afraid I would fall asleep and couldn't wake up. Meanwhile, I continued to attend lectures of a psychiatrist, but they made me feel even worse because of his... I asked to be hospitalized as I was afraid I could die. But no one rushed to do it. No one understood what was happening to me. My family had begun to quarrel with me, which also made the situation worse. And finally the day came when I felt like the voice in my head told me that it was the last day of my life. It was so hard, so tough. So I woke up and tried to write down all the things that I had to say to a psychiatrist. My father and I were going to him, but as soon as I got the phrase, I started to write it down. I immediately forgot everything after writing one or two words. I immediately forgot everything after writing down. Dad had to go to work, and then we had to go to the doctor. I went everywhere with him, as I was afraid to be alone. I was afraid to die alone. I was afraid no one could help me. When we arrived to clinic, we decided to write down everything I had to say to the doctor on a sheet of paper, since I couldn't do it on my own. It seemed to me that my father was writing wrong things, but I wasn't able to write it by myself. Then I went to the doctor's lecture. The lecture was, as usual, with the religious BS. But this time he was saying something about the devil. And when the lecture ended, everyone left the room, and the doctor called me over and told me that lecture was about me. So he wanted to say I was a devil. My dad also came into the office with a sheet of paper where we wrote about my fears. I read all this to doctor, and he said I had suicidal tendencies, and therefore it was really better to hospitalize me. So we went to draw up the paperwork for me to be admitted to a mental hospital. In my next video I will tell you about all the horrors of mental hospital. This video I just tell the story how it started and why. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be grateful if you follow me. So see you on the next video. Goodbye.